Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Aurora Airwaves. I'm Jordan Bianchi. Today I'm here with a very special guest, my cousin, Angela Bianchi. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome to Buffalo. You used to come here all the time.
Yes, all the time.
And I'm glad you still do.
I'm born here.
Tell us about kind of your journey about coming to Buffalo as a kid.
Coming to Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah, because I would always, I guess from my perspective, a little bit of context, it would always be, I would go visit my grandparents, and next door there were these kids that were kind of my age. There was one in particular who was my age, and she looked like me, but I didn't always know who she was, and over the years we were able to sort of connect and figure out who we were and hang out and play, and it was fantastic. But you guys were always these I don't know, these magical people from out of town that we got to just experience once or twice a year.
Oh man, Buffalo has my favorite memories.
Yeah.
So born here originally, but my parents and our family, we moved to Florida when I was in first grade. So I actually grew up in West Palm, but we would spend our magical summers and winters here with our grandparents.
Oh, the winters too.
Next door to your grandparents. But the summers were mostly Buffalo. The winters were Holiday Valley. Skiing, sledding, all the good stuff. So summers in the garden next door to you with your grandparents. There's nothing like the fresh caught green beans.
Well, when we were talking on the phone last week, it hit me about the fairy tale quality of two brothers that lived next to each other for 60 years, 60, 70 years,
60
something
plus
like that.
years, yeah. My dad just said 70 years for a Bianchi to be on Worley Drive.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And now there are none.
There are none, but here we are together
But
again.
here we are.
Yeah.
So how does it feel driving by all the old spots of Buffalo where you grew up?
It's bittersweet. It's it's nice to be back, but there's really nowhere that's home anymore. So that's hard. You know how that feels.
I do. Yeah, it's weird when you move back and everyone's in different places. I mean, my parents are still where they are, but it's funny seeing Nana and Pops, all their stuff in a new place.
Yeah.
It does feel like they're set up.
It feels like a home away from home.
Right.
It's all the pieces. Home. Yeah, so it's weird to see that, and I could pick out certain pieces that were in certain places in the old house still.
Yeah.
But it's just not the same without the gardens in the backyard.
I know, right?
I think that's what's the hardest, is the garden part.
Aunt Alma and Uncle Guido had such good gardens.
Yeah.
They went so far. It's so funny, right, for probably you to hear Aunt Alma and Uncle Guido. It's it's for Uncle Gordon and Aunt Norma.
Yeah.
It's wait, who are these people?
Or grandma and grandpa, uncle, aunt.
It's huh? I guess that's how it is.
Yeah. So it's sad, but it's we were so privileged to grow up with that.
But you just spent so much time with them.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting on that for us it was different. We would get dropped off or they'd pick us up and we would see them regularly. But for you guys, you were living there for weeks and weeks on end.
Our dad would drive us up for the summer and leave us there for as long as we were allowed to be there. And it was I also remember at one point we were allowed to do the unaccompanied minor on the airlines. So our parents would drop us off, and then our grandparents would be at the gate to pick us up as soon as we got off the plane. And that was the best and worst thing. The worst thing in my life was leaving them every time. I would cry for hours.
Yeah, I bet.
And I still do. When I leave,
Uncle, sobbing on the plane.
I'm such a crybaby when it comes to my grandparents. But then Uncle Gordon reminds me so much of my grandpa that when I leave him, I'm I get teary and stuff.
Oh, no, I'm sure.
Yeah, last time I left, I was crying in the car ride home because it just all the things hit.
Well, the older he gets, the more he looks like Guido, too.
They're identical twins, and then my dad...
They didn't always used to look like that, though.
No, but every year, they're all starting to look the same. It's interesting.
Oh, it is interesting.
So, it's good and bad to be back.
I mean, I feel it, too. Whenever... I mean, because they're older.
Yeah.
Even when I go over and visit and stuff. And
it's just different.
It's just different. And it's been nice living here for the past 8 years. But it does change, it changes the dynamic a little bit.
I wish I could have spent more time with them, but, you woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
So I just, treasure those memories we have.
I think then you start, like, putting the wrong values in, like, what the moment is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if I had more of these moments. It's
Yeah.
like, is that how the moment is? Isn't the moment, like, just
Yeah.
experiencing?
Yeah, it's nice to be back and, like, to see all the spots we used to go to together and do that with my dad this time. Normally it's just me and my boyfriend, and now it's like, my dad's like, oh, I don't even know these places anymore. They're all different. I'm like, you haven't been here longer than me. I come here,
Yeah,
like,
he hasn't been up in a good minute.
yeah. I'm like, at least I come once a year for a Bills game.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you here this year or last year?
I was...
You were here last year. Because it was before you turned 30.
I was here for the Kansas City Buffalo playoff game for 24 hours.
Fantastic.
I didn't get to see you guys. I'm sorry. We had to go back to work. So normally I try to see everyone, but
Hey, you gotta
that was
get in and get out.
In and out trip. Yeah.
That was your part-time job, right?
Yeah, it was
Bills
like
fan.
I had to go,
Good.
and we lost, so it was heartbreaking.
A little bit of karma.
Yeah.
A little bit of karma for you.
Oh man.
So, it's just so nice as we were talking about this, but like as we're getting older, I think we get to sort of redefine what our relationships are. And I'm realizing that with a lot of my own, like my first cousins on my mom's side, we're reconnecting in ways that we've never, and deepening our relationships in ways that we've never quite had.
Yeah.
And so I think that like this is, the point of this podcast really is to like reconnect with people and reestablish connections and, you know, figure out like, you know, because we are family and we are cousins and like
We are.
what this Bianchi energy is.
It's cool. That's what it is.
It is cool.
It's really nice. I've been like really trying, you know, with my immediate siblings.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting closer as we get older.
Good.
Even though we're far apart. But like
Yeah, you guys are all over the place.
we are.
Yeah.
But I talk to them every day.
Really?
Yeah, and then my
Do you have a group text? Family group text?
We do, but we're normally like whenever anyone's in the car, we call each other. So we get to
yeah.
talk. I mean, I talk to my dad every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we talk to each other as much as possible, but it's like I value our family, and I always am emailing Uncle Gordon,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this
On
is
his
what
iPad.
this is what's going on in our lives in case no one else let you know. And like I'm trying to reach out, and like, you know, I had a few days off, so I'm like, let's go to Buffalo, let's see the family. But it's like,
It's a good call.
it's been nice to kind of take a step back and like appreciate what we do have, because not everyone has family,
Yeah.
and like family that's so talented.
And they don't want to like murder each other.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing. I mean, it's also like, it's tricky when you don't have like those certain years of like, I don't know when those years would be, but like when you can sit down and have those conversations about, you know, all the memories and all the stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like my first cousins, I have that because there's just more parties and stuff, and everyone's coming back for a specific reason.
Yeah.
So there's more like just jokes and ridiculous things to tie us together. But I think that this is like, there are just as many stories.
Yeah, and there's like things that bring us back, like, you know, we've always like had these houses that have always been like such a big part of our lives, and like those are my fondest memories. Worley Drive.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
Going to
you are
Anderson's
part of my fondest memories. I value them so much, and I'm like, I don't know what I would have done without them. Like you know, my little sister and I got to do those trips together. You didn't see
Yeah.
Andy and Janelle as much.
I didn't see Janelle as much. Andy, I remember going to like Island Park and
Yeah.
going on like the festivals and hanging out and stuff.
And the Capture the Flag with
Yeah.
him, and
There were a lot of like family picnics and stuff. Do you remember those?
not as much.
They're very blurry, and it's one of those things of, like, you don't know who anybody is, and you forget who all the kids are, except
Yeah.
that you just like run around with them.
And then you see the pictures, and you're like, oh,
You're like,
I think I remember.
Who are these?
No, it's been like, I'm trying to like reach out to family and like stay in touch, but it's hard. Like, we all are busy and have different
It's hard.
schedules, but
We're learning.
we're doing it.
It's our first time at 30, right? Figuring this out.
31.
You're almost. Oh yeah, you're 31. I'm almost 31.
Remember, you're August.
Yeah.
I'm March.
You're March.
I passed it. I passed 30.
How was 30 for you? We never talked about that.
30 was cool because we were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming on my birthday.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Skiing.
Oh, great.
With, my dad met us out there,
Nice.
so that was cool.
Nice.
So, I mean, what more could you ask for skiing on your birthday?
I've never skied downhill.
Yeah.
I've done cross country. That's not really that fun.
No.
One day.
I don't know. It's hard to learn now.
Why?
I feel like it's hard to learn these, like, sporty things as an adult because you're, like...
You have to go down the bunny hill.
Yeah, and you're just, like, kind of embarrassed now. But, like,
Yeah.
as a kid, you're, like, fearless and...
Right.
Your bones are stronger.
Did you hurt yourself?
Andy did, my brother.
I did. I gotta get him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah.
Alexis.
And Alexis.
Talk
Yeah.
about creative individuals.
I messaged her maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I want her to make me a logo.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I want to do yet and how I want to go about it, but
She did my logo.
yeah, which is a good segue
Yep.
into everything you've got going on.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I liked how your little story of your grandpa telling you the Bianchi name and how to remember it.
My little bumblebee.
Your little
Am I wearing
bumblebee.
it? It's somewhere.
Yeah, I
Right
just
here?
saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Aw. It's my first time seeing it, actually.
I wear this every day. Alexis, my sister, has the same necklace, and it just reminds us of a bumblebee on a key
Yep.
that he made for us to learn how to pronounce our last names.
Did he actually make you?
He had a bumblebee on a gold cardboard key he made.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was like, that's something I'll never forget.
Bianchi.
Yeah. We have a logo of that for everyone to use if you ever want it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Alexis made it a while ago when we wanted to, like, do something together.
I remember going on Etsy and trying to find, like, bumblebee keychains.
Oh.
Because I was like... And then however I'd put my keys down, I would have to, like, make sure that the bee was on top of my keys.
There you go.
But it's helpful.
Yeah.
It's still how I, like, tell people.
It's the
Mr.
easiest
Bianchi.
way.
Mr. Bianchi.
You're like, cut it out. Maybe we should have mini ones. A client actually made me that. A bumblebee on a key. I told her the story.
Really?
And she gave me a thank you card because her property sold, like, quickly, a lot over asking. And she's like, I'll never
Good.
forget the story about you and your grandpa. And
No.
she actually gave me a bumblebee on a key.
A bumblebee from the gardens.
It's in my warehouse.
Really?
Yeah.
So, Angela, tell us all about Bianchi Designs.
All
It's
right.
just so fascinating for me and so inspiring, and I just want to enjoy every
Thank
detail
you.
of your company and
Oh my
but really
gosh.
of your adventure, because it's just so cool seeing you blossom into this.
It's been a long
Amazing
journey.
journey.
It still is. So
Mhm.
Bianchi Designs is a home staging and interior design company that I own, operate, and do everything for.
You just took a call for it.
Yes, I just took a
That's
call
why we
for
just took a
it.
quick little break.
Some furniture broke, an alarm was not turned on, you know. Perks of being a business owner.
Well, you're going into a lot of different spaces, a lot of different houses.
Yeah. So
What is it, Murphy's Law? Like, everything that will happen will happen?
I don't know. I'm trying to, like, figure out all of that.
Well, so it's not just you. So you're the woman behind the business. You run it and you do all these things, but you do have a lot of people that help you.
I do have movers
Okay.
who do the heavy lifting, but I install all of my jobs. They only do the heavy lifting or remove staged properties without me.
Okay.
So
okay.
normally I'm accommodating them for all of the install stuff, and then they leave me to finish it. I hang all the pictures by myself. I do everything. So eventually I do need some help because I'm getting a little spread thin sometimes, but that's, you know, growing pains.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
It's not a bad problem.
Yeah. So it has been like just over 2 years. I started it while I took a full-time job.
Were you staging and doing similar work?
So before 2 years ago, backstory, I worked on a real estate team for almost 10 years.
Okay.
Where I did everything. It was a small but mighty team. I did the paperwork. I ran the brokerage. I ran a staging company. I ran a rental portfolio for my bosses.
So you
like,
learned it all.
8 properties. Then, you know, we would sell 100 plus homes a year, 5 of us. And then we had a staging company that I pretty much ended up running for our brokerage.
Wow.
And eventually it was like, okay, it's time to decide am I going to keep doing work for someone else's name, or is it time to put the Bianchi name out there? So I ended up leaving them. I took a full-time job, and I was working my full-time job for 2 years while I got this started. So I worked 2 jobs for 2 years, a lot of long days, a lot of heavy lifting, late nights, no fun some days.
No fun allowed.
But now I went full-time January 1st.
That's awesome.
It was really cool. I will say I wouldn't have done any of it without my boyfriend. He was like, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And then eventually it was like, if I don't commit full-time, what will this ever be? So it was like I had to rip the Band-Aid off.
Take that leap of faith.
Yeah. And I talked to a lot of my, like, colleagues who have small businesses, and they're like, you'll make it work. Like, if you have to do something as, like, someone like you, you're always going to be okay because you are going to work. You're not going to just sit there and not do something. If you, like, you need to pay your rent. You're going to pay your rent somehow.
Sometimes, like, that's the best situation to be in.
Yeah.
When you just have, like, the pressures of whatever, like, demands you to, like, find answers.
I was really nervous to get my warehouse, but it was the best thing I ever did.
Now, you had some storage units before that?
Yeah, I was up to like 5 storage units, and all of the accessories were in my garage, and it was
my gosh.
I would pack some stuff at our house, then go to the storage units. Then it would be raining. There's
you probably
no
set
coverage.
stuff all over the house to begin with. Your whole basement was probably just filled with things.
It was just the garage because we were trying to have some sort of balance, but there would be overflow every now and then, and packages would come in, and I'd have packages of furniture in the living room, building them while we're watching Netflix or something.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta grind.
Yeah, you have to make it work.
Yeah.
So I got my warehouse in August, and now I want a bigger one.
Well, why is that? It seems like you have a lot of certain things.
I do. The business has been growing. Every month has kind of been my best month since February, so that's been amazing. Knock on wood somewhere.
Right.
But it's like, if I'm gonna keep it up, I'm gonna need a bigger space. So we'll see. Which, good problems to have.
So, for everyone who's listening, how would you describe the difference between staging and designing someone's property?
So staging is appealing to the masses, making the homes look as sale ready as possible. You want everyone to envision themselves there, so you can't go too crazy with patterns. Okay. You have to make the spaces feel larger, so that means being cautious of big pieces in small rooms. You want the floors to run as much as possible so you feel the continuous
wide open
space. Yeah, there's little tricks. Like, I stage things in a way that I wouldn't live.
Really?
Yeah, because you want someone to see the space as big and open as possible.
Yeah.
So certain...
No, it's like when people take photos of, like, when they're selling houses. Like when Non and Pops, like when they sold their house.
Yeah.
The photographer, like, used these wide lenses, and I was like... It looks like their house.
Yeah.
It absolutely is their house, but...
You got to get everyone there, though. The pictures, that's what does it. And then, sometimes, like, the couch will be in a certain way that I wouldn't live in. But it's
so?
For,
Like, you're not putting all these, like, blankets and...
You're not closing off the space, but normally if you live there, your TV would be here and your couch would be here instead of just... a couch and chairs
I see.
So it's like you don't always include things that you would live in, but bigger properties you get to do that stuff. So staging is really about appealing to as many people as possible. You want to get multiple offers and sell quickly, so you need to appease the masses. So
realtors will work with you.
Realtors and I just had a homeowner reach out to me because her realtor told her she needed to work with me. So I dealt with...
She needed to, not that she should. She needed to.
Normally I'm working with...
That's great.
Realtors. Most of the time I'm just dealing with them directly, but sometimes the homeowners reach out. But it's normally because someone's seen my work and they're like, I've walked through a staged house by you. You need to do my next one. And I'm like, awesome. Let's keep it up.
So what's the turnaround for that?
It depends. Like, I have one agent that... texted me on Friday. She's like, I know you're out of town for Father's Day. When do you get back? So I'm staging a house 10 a.m. Monday for her.
You weren't joking about that, like, you can't drive around anymore and, like, not have people know who you are and where you are and stuff. Like,
it's cool.
It's
I mean,
spreading.
I'm proud of our name, so I put it on everything. I just, like, our grandparents taught us certain things, and I'm proud of where I come from because of them.
Well, I think it's nice that I guess the way that I see it is that you're helping people reestablish themselves.
Yeah.
And move on and find their own homes and their own places to be. And I think that's exactly what your foundation was.
Yeah,
that's that touch that
everyone's biggest investment. So you want them to sell, not be stressed out and cash out. It's, setting you up for your next turnaround phase. So it's, I know there's a lot of emotions that go into it, and I'm cautious of that because I worked on the real estate side. So I feel like it's really kind of balanced all out and all come together now.
Do you like having a more specific focus of things that you're working on? Because it seems like when you were, for the past 10 years, or 12 years, like you've had so many different types of tasks. And that can wear you out. Yeah.
I thought I wanted to be a realtor at some point in that 10 years. And then I was like, no, I don't. But now
when did that click?
That was probably like 5 years into it.
Okay.
You see a certain lifestyle that a lot of these realtors have, the fancy cars, the big paychecks. I saw everyone's commission checks come through, and you're like, sure, I'd like that. But then you realize, like, you're always on call. A lot of buyers can only work with you after work or on the weekends.
Oh.
It's not really your schedule.
It's all the off hours that you're... Yeah.
And yeah, I do that, but I don't necessarily have to if I don't want to right now.
Well, that's very Bianchi too. All the musicians working all the off hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's good that you found the balance of what was actually working for you in your life.
Yeah. And there was a gap in the market where I'm at that people weren't staging with, natural pieces, things that were kind of unique. In like new homes, I tend to put like more antique pieces sometimes because you can mix and match those things. Right. But a lot of stagers won't do that. A lot of stagers are using cheaper, more, I don't know if IKEA is the right word, but like
they built it themselves.
Yeah, they're not bringing in elevated pieces for certain properties. And I've kind of tried to make a statement with some of those pieces in some really nice homes. So,
well, why is that? Is it they don't have the space? They don't have the manpower to...
I think it's, those things take time to source. I go to these vintage markets. I look at all these European pieces that I love, and I'm like, this would be beautiful in, certain homes. And I've been able to get some of those pieces, and people recognize those. Or I'm using our house restoration hardware, Crate and Barrel, all the Pottery Barn, that stuff, and it makes a difference when you're in $1 million+ homes to use quality stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's been really nice to have some more elevated pieces and make these homes look beautiful.
So tell us about when someone calls you and they actually want their home that they're living in, they're not selling. They want that redesigned.
Okay.
That sounds like a creative struggle.
So that's
I don't know if struggle's the right word, but it seems like a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Where you have to interpret what they are saying from what they actually want and what their actual
but they're coming to
best
me
interests are.
To piece it all together, right?
Right.
They can't come up with the full vision. So they're telling me things they like. I'm thinking of things that actually work together. And we're coming up with a cohesive piece that they want to live in. So it's very much more involved. Yeah. You have to get what they like, what their partner likes, what their kids need. So you have to think about all those things.
Oh, that's true. So they're all, I guess when my brain goes to someone who wants you to redesign their house, I'm thinking like, someone who's retired and someone who has a lot of money, but this could be people of all ages.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have the time or the eye. So they're coming to me to kind of, I got the eye now, I think. And
you've always had the eye, are you kidding?
It's taken a while to realize some of it, but
it's a big part of it.
They want a cohesive space, and they think, this pattern wallpaper will go with this pattern wallpaper, and that's not always the case. You gotta, you can do one huge statement and then maybe a little less on something close to it. So it's kind of just tailoring those things for everything they want.
What's an interesting house that you've been in that you've worked on lately?
An interesting house. I'm working with a developer who is doing a lot in DC, and he's actually just sent me a video of a 4-condo building he just turned over.
Oh,
so
okay. Interesting.
There's one big space, and he divided it up. It's going to be 4 condos. And
Just like this place.
Yeah.
All chopped up, yep.
So he's actually been doing some really beautiful finishes, and I love doing his properties. He trusts me. He's like,
Good.
tell me what you think here, you do it. And he's like, we'll stage 2 of them, sell them, then do the other 2. And I'm really excited for that project.
So they give you like a budget?
Normally,
things to keep in mind?
So my pricing, that's a staging job. So it's based on square footage and how many pieces I'll be bringing in.
Yeah.
So that'll be, a bigger job because it will be 2 in 1, but they're smaller 2-bedroom condos. So it won't be that crazy. We are actually removing one of his huge properties today as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what's going on?
So it's really nice to work with people that trust you, though. I'd say that's the best part.
So how do you gauge trust in these relationships?
You can kind of tell if someone's been doing a lot of business and you see what quality product they put out. They care about their photography. They clean the homes, and they say, you run with it, whatever you think works best.
But how do you know what the photography looks like before you've done the staging? Or you see, like,
I look at their
up the
previous
company,
listings.
You see all the other things they've done.
Yeah.
How they're representing
I look
themselves.
at their track record, what they've put out before. And then normally, you can tell right away if you're going to be the right fit, too.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good that you gauge that. So
I've
you can
learned
see
the
some of
hard
these...
way.
Yeah? Can you tell us about that?
There's some
like,
agents...
What are some red flags that crept up that you didn't notice right away?
There's been a couple of agents that want you to go back and put, like, things in weird places. Like, plants on top of toilets aren't really the best because you're drawing your eye directly to the toilet. So that's not what I do. I put artwork above so it draws your eye up.
Yeah.
There's things I do, and they're for certain reasons.
I like that.
So you can kind of tell when someone's telling you how to do your job that they might not be the right fit. I trust...
It's like when I'm filming and they're like, well, just don't do that angle, or don't film my face, or don't do these things. And I'm like, well, what did you hire me to do?
And I'll send a photographer in that I trust, and we don't have to talk about it. I'll get the photos.
Yeah.
I trust him.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's like, when you work with people that know what they're doing, you let them run with it. There's just nothing more to it. Like, you're the professional, so it's your turn.
Yeah, it's like, go and do your thing.
Yeah.
And if you do your thing and it doesn't really line up, then
and
okay.
I'm not good at, certain things, and I'm not telling you that.
But did you have to realize this at a certain point of, like, at the beginning of, like, it sounds like you're not micromanaging all these, like, different, I don't know, all the different steps of these productions. Like, you do have to see what's going on, but you're letting this breathing room happen.
Yeah. I've seen, like, agents I've worked with, they've worked with photographers that aren't as great. And I've politely said, oh, can I send my photographer in to get photos for my records? And then I give them to them. I'm like, oh, if you need these, you can have them.
And then they see,
So it's kind of like you want to help each other out if you can. I'm always there to, like, help my agents that take care of me, too. Like, someone sends me something they need me to do quickly. If I can do it, I'm going to. I'm not going to say, no, I need 2 weeks' notice. Like...
oh, no, I couldn't.
I just need that.
Not under these conditions.
No. I'm like, okay, it's a tornado we're staging today. We have to do it.
Right,
like...
just drive around it. Like, just get there.
So it's like, I'm always trying to help people out. I always learned to treat others the way you'd like to be treated. So that's my go-to for everything. If someone says something to me, I think about, okay, well, what would you do in that case? And
how do you like to be treated as a professional?
Like, people trust me, let me do my job. See what happens before you judge me, Give me an opportunity. Right?
I like that. Yeah.
I think you got to give people a chance before you say, like, oh, I would do it this way or that way. Why would you do it like this? Like...
So did you always embody this?
No.
No?
No.
What was it like 10 years ago?
10 years
when you
ago.
were starting off working?
I was a hard worker, always. But I was listening to my bosses, doing what they said. And I learned a lot from them. I don't regret working for them. Everything brought me to this. So it's like, they were in charge. You know, I had suggestions. We'd talk about it. We'd sometimes do them. We sometimes wouldn't. You have to, like, learn to let things go sometimes.
But that's the trick, right? Learning how to let stuff go.
Which I'm not always good at that.
What was that like the first couple times you had to start letting stuff go?
Because
when you're in your 20s, you're excited, right? You want to, like, do all these projects and do all these things, but you don't quite have the resources yet to do it.
I think it was, like...
Nor should you, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't know, but, like, right now, where I'm at, I've learned if I don't get a job, it's okay. You know, I have my price points for certain things. I have my set price list. I have certain conditions I'll work under. I'm not going to go into a house that is not ready. It's going to damage my furniture. I'm going to have to go back 3 times. There's all things like that.
So you flat out tell people, like...
It's not ready. I can't
happening.
do it. Yeah, and I've had to learn, like, it's okay I'm saying no because my product's going to be better at the end. And the goal is still to sell these homes faster and for more money.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm not saying no for other reasons. But it's been hard to, like, lose certain jobs where you see another stager come in and do a not so great job. And I've just had to say, you know what? They probably went with that because it was cheaper and it looks like that. And that's okay. Like,
yeah.
Hopefully they'll see my work and want to work with me later.
Well, I love the confidence that you have for your style and the worth that you have behind everything that you're making. That's cool. Did it take time to... I mean, the way that you're describing all this, it really feels like each place is a canvas of its own. If you're thinking about, like, the painting above the toilet instead of the plants, you're thinking of the space, and you're thinking of the way the eye is directed around everything. That's so artistic. Did you view yourself with having an artistic
I don't think so,
eye?
and then I just, you know, you start doing it more and more, and you're like, oh, you know, there's a formula to this in certain ways, but there's also, like, you're getting creative with white walls and empty spaces.
Right.
You know, it's not...
I'm sure there's a lot of white...
I don't want it to be sterile.
Furniture.
You know, people need to feel like they can live there, so it's really making these homes feel like homes. Because they are. They just feel like new construction sites sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see, like, a blank slate turn into something beautiful. I love the before and afters.
Oh, I love them too.
It's my favorite.
They're fantastic, especially when you make the reels out of them.
Yeah.
And you let you show all the stuff that's, like, falling apart beforehand, and then it's just...
Like, what would you do more, right? It's like, it's the best.
I mean, I've always thought, like, when I buy a house one day, I'm just going to have to call you up and you're going to have to, like, redo the whole thing.
I can't wait.
Actually, I'll give you the keys so you can redo all that stuff.
Well, we've got construction in our family, so...
This is true.
That's always been a part of it.
In our veins?
Yeah.
Somewhere?
I've always
been,
like...
Deep, for me, very far away.
You guys are... I feel like your family was more artistic. My dad and my grandpa were very handy, and I feel like I got my work ethic, a lot of it from them, and the construction part of things. Like, I was a project manager, too. So I was running renovations, and that helped me, because I can see things that, like, don't make sense sometimes.
Well, I think that's really the difference between the two families, or, like, you know, between Guido and Gordon, that pops into education. And there are just so many educators in my family. Like, every other person, I don't think it's every other person, I think it's every person is an educator in some way.
Which is so, like, people need to educate people.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't have that talent. Yeah.
But it's also, like, I think it works because if you had to be educating all the time and having that mindset and those needs to want to educate, you wouldn't be able to keep moving at the pace that you are.
Yeah.
I think there'll come, like, a time and a place for that, you know, in different scenarios if you're workshopping.
Yeah.
You know, and you're growing and expanding and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe when I'm more hands-off. But right now it's, like,
right now it's
down and dirty.
A certain amount of, like, sunlight and traffic in D.C.'s. Virginia's kind of busy.
It's challenging.
Yeah, that sounds challenging.
Yeah.
So, when you were seeing my apartment a few minutes ago, you brought up that you don't really do the feng shui stuff.
No.
What principles do you subscribe to?
So I was certified, and I did, like, a staging course, and I did that. And that's all about like I said before, making homes feel bigger, cleaner, open, and people envisioning themselves there. The feng shui stuff, that's a very different style.
Very different, yeah.
And, I'm not going to tell you I'm good or educated in something that I'm not. That's not one of them.
Oh, it's like its own field of study. They're like, that you could read about that for years.
Yeah. So yeah, I've studied things on resale value.
Right.
Yeah.
In, out.
That's like my main goal, but the interior design has come with it. I've worked on a lot of properties, and I think I've been color trained as well, so I know undertones and paint colors. That kind of stuff has been really helpful.
So describe that.
Okay, so you're looking at a white wall.
Okay, got it.
There's a beige or blue undertone, and a lot of people can't tell the difference.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So there's a certain tint in certain paint colors that are going to give, if you have a beige undertone in your white walls, you shouldn't be putting gray floors down next to it.
No, that would
You
not.
should be putting the
That
brown
would be
tones.
Horrible. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have the blue undertone, you go with the cool grays. Like, those things.
That would do it.
But a lot of people can't see that.
They just know something's not right.
Or they don't.
Or they don't.
And that's why
Until
people
they do.
hire me. Because I
see
make it all cohesive.
Do you see it click for people once you've done it?
I love it. Someone sends me a picture of a listing, and I'm like, that's Chantilly lace, Benjamin Moore, brown undertones. We can do this floor. I'm like, it's one of 3 colors, and they're like, first one, you got it. That's fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of families, like, their eyes lighting up?
I don't get to see that part of it, really. The design jobs I worked on, it's been very,
Like, you're there, you do your thing, and then you disappear.
Yeah, unless I'm doing the
magic.
project management part of it, which I haven't really been doing a lot of that. I've been busy staging. So eventually I will be doing more of that, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these projects I'm working on are vacant houses. So I don't get to see that all the time, but hopefully I'll get there.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
It's good that there's already variety in what you're offering.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if this is where you're starting.
Can you come help me?
I would love to. I would love to. I want to, do another episode in the warehouse.
Please, anytime.
With 25 couches.
Yes. Hopefully they're not there, because that means I'm staging.
Right. Well, but then, you're probably going to buy more.
Yeah.
It's like my mom selling things for Etsy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I just got to sell these, and then, the shelves up. And I'm like, okay, but you just went and spent, $500 on more antiques.
Okay.
And now there's another shelf.
I understand, though, because if I see a
Which
piece
is,
that's
fine.
great and versatile and I need it, I have to buy it.
I mean, it's like me with, camera gear and stuff.
Yeah.
I have tons of mics, but I want to get more mics. Why
You
not?
have to. It's just you're investing in your business, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
fun.
always a line, but I am starting to get rid of some of the products that I bought in the beginning, because, sometimes I bought things in a pinch that I wasn't really focused on. So I am trying to get rid of some of the pieces I don't love as much, or they're not as versatile.
Do you try to just buy the pieces as they are, or do you reupholster them to get a specific look?
I have not
'Cause that would be expensive.
Yeah, I haven't been doing any of that. It's just too time consuming. I have bought unique one-of-kind pieces from people that do that.
Oh.
Because they're good at their trade.
Sure.
I'll tell you, I've tried to refinish furniture, and it's not my forte.
Boy, that would take a long time to do.
Yes, and I always think I'm going to have the time, and I don't.
Right.
So, I go source furniture at, the outlets, and that's when I'm finding pieces that are great at a discounted rate, so I have to buy it, because it's not going to be there the next day.
I mean, it's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah. And then I realized, I could resell it if I needed to, but I'm not going to. But it's all about buying pieces that can all go together, too. I do have a set of more modern things that just went into this really contemporary home. So I do have, different styles if I need to, but I do try to buy things that all go together for the main focus.
Right. What do you know about, the way a space influences people's mental health and well-being?
I think it's very important. I think a lot of people grew up with a lot of clutter, And we used to grow up in houses where you save everything. And I think that makes you a little chaotic in your head as well sometimes. So personally for me, when my home is clean, organized, everything's in its spot, I feel clarity.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you're walking through a home that has clutter all over it, you're feeling like anxious and all those things. But when you're walking through a home that's clear, there's clear pathways, there's nothing in your way, like, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes you feel great.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm, like, overwhelmed, I always, like, say this thing of, like, I just need to clear my desk off.
Yep.
And I've been realizing, like, I can do that throughout my whole space.
Yes.
The clearer it is. And I there was something that, like, Marie Kondo had said about, like,
it
you need
doesn't
to
bring
be
you
careful.
joy.
Well, the joy thing, yeah, that's a big thing. Do I
Yeah.
actually desire to have this? Or is this just here for some other reason?
Yeah.
And it's okay to let go of stuff that you don't care about.
Yeah.
But the other one was, like, being very careful about, like, sentimental things versus things that are going to propel you in the direction that you want to go in life. And she was saying that a lot of the clutter comes from, like, keeping so many, like, family mementos or things from the past that just fuel that nostalgia, whereas a house should, or a living space should be propelling you in a direction that you actually feel good about.
Like, my house has slowly come together. There's like statement pieces from this European buyer that brings things over, and it feels like, you know, everything's got a reason for being there.
Okay.
So I think that's something too. Like,
what does that mean? It has, like, there's a reason for it.
If it doesn't have a purpose, why are you holding on to it, right? Like, why do you have 40 glasses if at most you're gonna have 12 people over?
Right.
You know, like,
a stack of 40, like, tons and tons of dishes.
Yeah. And things like, I live in a smaller home and I love it. I don't know why we all need these mega mansions and, like, all these empty spaces that there's really no purpose for them.
Right.
You know, it's about, I think a lot of people think, like, the bigger the better, but I think, like, if everything in your home has a purpose, that's better. And I feel like, you know, I don't want to take care of a huge house at this point in my life. And
do you imagine?
No, we have 2 extra bedrooms. We're never using them. Like,
that's great.
And that's too
more
much
room to
space.
store, like, things you're getting.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, you keep all these things and you're not using them. And I don't know, I've just come to realize, like, if you're not using something, you should get rid of it. Yeah. If you haven't touched it in a year, all your holidays have gone by in a year.
Yeah.
If you haven't used it in a year, I think that's, like, you know, a good enough time. Like, you've gone through the whole season, every holiday, and if you're not using it then let someone else enjoy it. I do donation pickups, and it's been great. You feel like if you're giving things to a certain charity that does good in the world, then great.
Yeah, and they'll use it too.
Yeah. And then if you're buying things with a purpose, you're not going to have all these things you have to give away when you're 60 and downsizing.
Right.
You know?
Oh my gosh.
I
do know.
My mom and dad are the very opposite on this. My mom is a saver and my dad doesn't have, like, he gets rid of everything.
Oh, really?
So, like, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I tend to lean more towards the get rid of everything side now. And it's like, it makes me happy to just have open spaces and, like, everything has a purpose.
I wonder, like, I definitely save a lot of things, but I think I've been more, I don't know, more focused on what do I actually feel good about having around me.
Yeah.
And it's nice having this space be completely my own, because it's like, what do I want to fill it up with?
Yeah.
At the beginning, when I had it, I was decorating for other people. Like, oh, my friends that come over, or dates, or things like that. And it's like, dude, you gotta, like, design this for you.
Yeah.
It has to be completely
your home is you.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Yeah. But then I started, like I didn't have a couch for 4 or 5 months. I was like, well, I don't know. And then it was like, but what do you want? Oh, I like greens. I like the wood. I like this thing. Go for it.
Yeah.
It just clicked.
And you're happy, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think, like, if you see something that, like, sparks joy, get it. Like, also, it's okay to, like, do those things instead of, like, analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
You know? You didn't have a couch for 4 months.
Well, I think that's a very Bianchi trait. We were hearing the wheelbarrow story last night. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds exactly like...
Yeah. Gotta fix everything.
Gotta fix everything. Gotta save everything.
Reuse it.
We can use this.
I think, like, you know...
Which I understand.
A lot of our older family members grew up in the Great Depression era, so you had to save everything.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, we don't need it. Don't buy it. Unless it's Buffalo Bills.
Right. Then that's why you have those 2 extra rooms.
I do have 1 big...
2 extra closets.
I have a bin full of all my Buffalo Bills stuff. I won't go over that. I'm going to get rid of some of it.
Sure. Uncle Greg says every once in a while he thins the herd of, like, old Sabres gear and stuff like that.
I do. I got rid of, like, 2 shirts, and I got 2 more today.
See? That's great.
I do have
It's just a different season.
Yes, I have them, like, if something comes in, something needs to go out, and that's been making me happy.
That's a good system.
And I'm not buying more hangers. I'm getting rid of hangers, which has been really nice.
Okay.
But, like, you know, you walk into your closet, and you see everything, like, and then there's clarity on what you have and what you can wear. But if you're overwhelmed with everything around you, it's hard to start your day that way.
Well, I think that's, like, when you're in your place and if you're fully, like, you take the time to reflect on what you actually have, it becomes, like, an exercise of reflection. And just, like, how am I blocking myself from moving forward?
Yeah.
Like, I have, like, for me, like, before you came, I was, like, tidying up a little bit. And I had all these stacks of, like, old credit card bills and stuff. And, like, I pay them online and stuff. But it's like, why am I not taking the time to organize all these things?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, there is some block that I have about, like, not wanting to be organized, because if I do, then it, like, will propel me even, you know, closer to success.
Yeah.
So these are things that, like, I'm learning of, like, what are all, like, the ways in which your home and the energy of it can move you forward in a direction of success.
Yeah.
We get in our ways a lot of the time.
Yeah, I feel like we have this system where, you know, when we have a clean house, we can get other things done. So we try not to let it get too ahead. Like, you know...
You can grind all the flax seeds.
We really try to keep things tidy. And then, like, you know, Saturday or Sunday morning, whatever it is, we spend, like, an hour just tidying things up again. And, like, if you
It's a good system.
Keep it going, there's not that, like, 5-day period that you have to, like, spend cleaning the house.
Right.
So it's, like, keeping things consistent really helps us. But sometimes, like, the warehouse becomes a total disaster because I have 5 installs and 6 removals in 5 days.
When a lot of people moving in and out at times.
Yeah, and I'm not there when the movers are there, and they put things in the wrong spot sometimes, and that happens.
That happens.
But it's like, when the warehouse is organized, I feel calm, and I feel like I can prepare for the next install much easier. So I think it just, like, sets you up for success when everything is in its place.
Yeah.
I might be a little over the top sometimes.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
You gotta be.
You can recognize your weaknesses or strengths. It's okay.
Well, the one thing I like all this, but one thing especially is that the support that you have with Josh, and that, like, you've been saying that, like, he gave you, like...
He was like, you have to do this.
Thumbs up of, like, go for it.
Yeah, I think it's, like, you know, a lot of people can't follow their passion because we're stuck to a paycheck. Yeah. You know, we're used to getting paid this, paying these bills, X, Y, and Z, and, you know, if you have something of a support system that believes in you, you feel like you can actually take a leap. I knew I was leaving my job, so I started saving for my personal stuff. The business was fine, but it's like, I still haven't paid myself, really. You know? That's the next thing, is to start, you know, that.
But isn't that normal with starting a business? Like, there's a big period at the beginning where it's just breaking even?
Yeah, and everything I have, I own. So it's also, like, you know, a mind game where I'm realizing everything is an asset, too.
Like, you're like, I've committed.
Yeah, but it's also, like...
Is it an asset or a liability? Right?
Yeah, but it is an asset, and I have to be proud of that. Like, a lot of people start these businesses and take out huge loans, and I didn't have to because I was working a job.
Yeah.
The business was the business money, and that's what it's been. But I also had support where it's like, if you can't make it these months, we'll figure it out. We'll do it together. And like, how cool is that? You know?
Well, I just think just like the emotional support.
Yeah.
And having someone in close proximity that believes in your quest.
So Josh is very detail oriented.
Okay.
Not artsy.
Isn't he an engineer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Data driven. Very much the opposite of all of us.
Interesting when you see a gene pool that's like completely
he's like,
different.
I don't understand your Bianchi family and your Vizzi family. Everyone is artists in a different way. No one has like, you know, this 9-to-5 job where they do this, like maybe 1 out of 20.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that's us. Like,
checks out.
Figure skaters, content creators, graphic designers, industrial engineers. Like, we're all out there in our own way. And he is like, this is where you need to be. This is this. Like, sets certain goals and gets my data organized for me.
Is it hard to understand that information, or does he maybe he presents it in a way that you can digest it?
Built this dashboard that shows all my numbers, what agents I'm working with the most,
that's good.
Making all my data useful so I can see the big picture or share things with people I want to.
That's good.
So it's really good to have someone that's detail oriented like that while I'm like, oh, I've got to buy a couch. Let's do this. Like, and he's like, wait, do the numbers make sense? Does this all work? And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
did they not at certain points?
At certain points, I probably should have been more strict, but that's the growing pains of a business too. You also don't want to like always be like reliant on that one person to like, you know, you don't want to overwhelm them too. Like, Josh has his own job. He has things he wants to do, and like, as much as this is my business, you know, 100%. So I always think like, until he's in on it in certain ways, I can't bombard him with everything, even though he gets the emotional side of it.
Well, but there's like the difference of like, can you do it all for me? I just can't. Versus like, I don't know how and I want to figure it out, but I don't have the information to do that. Yeah,
or also like, he realizes I have like 5 installs in 3 days and he comes to give me a hand. Or my dad flies up for a weekend sometimes. So it's been like really cool to have different support in different ways, I think. But I think like that's what you need to be able to,
I think so,
try things that you're afraid of.
So someone's afraid of doing something, but they're thinking about it, and they're at that point where they're building up their potential energy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they want to start their own business. Maybe they want to go on an adventure. There's some part of their quest they haven't fulfilled yet.
Yeah.
What would you recommend practically, and what would you recommend,
I'd say
passionately, energetically?
First of all, you should go for it. You should make a plan to go for it, though. Mm-hmm. Don't just like up and quit something without a backup or savings or things like that. Like, because I positioned myself in a certain way, I wasn't stressed. When January was slow, I knew it was going to be. I planned on that. But I had expected that, and I planned for that. And I think, if you're passionate about something, you're going to find a way to make it work. So I say go for it, but just be cautious and careful.
How long were you saving before you made your jump?
For like the 2 years, like I had personal goals for that, and then I had, the business goals, and the business was running itself, so it was okay.
That's awesome.
But I wouldn't have done any of that if it wasn't for my data-driven.
Right.
It's like, what are we doing?
Spreadsheets are like the bane of my existence.
Oh my gosh,
But I will say they've made my life a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it's just there.
Yeah. It's in front of you every day.
Really
you can't
mad
ignore
at the spreadsheet.
it.
I can't ignore it. I gotta check it.
You're like, the data doesn't lie.
Data.
You're like, art can be interpreted different ways, but this Excel isn't lying to me.
Yeah, then it's like, then the dopamine kicks faster for like getting the numbers to line up and stuff like that.
So yeah, it's been interesting.
Well, it's been incredibly exciting seeing your journey
Thank you.
from afar. But the more you've been getting into it, the more you've been posting, and the more you've been sharing these just in-depth reels and photos and insights, that it makes me feel like I'm always on site with you guys.
I'm glad you feel that way, because I have someone doing my social media now.
You wouldn't even know.
Wouldn't
even know. Seriously. I didn't know. No, when you told me, I was like, oh, I thought you were just doing all this. Like,
yeah,
that's your vibe of just like, let's get it done. Let's make it look nice.
I was, and then I reached out to a friend from Buffalo.
There you go.
Childhood friend. She quit her corporate job to do social media management, and she's been amazing.
That's great.
It's something that I wasn't passionate about. I wasn't great at it. She has an eye. She knows the market trends, all of that stuff for that, and she sends me content. I look at it for a minute, and I approve it, and she posts it. But, like, we had discussions about my tone, my voice, my goals, all of that, so it's been good.
So do you shoot stuff, and then she still tell you, like, what kind of things to gather?
Yeah. Right now I've been, like, we have a shared album. She tells me, like, what to try to shoot. I try, I fail.
That's great.
So I send her, like, everything I can, and, you know, the more the better, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you gotta overshoot.
With the unedited stuff.
You gotta overshoot.
But, like, in the moment, I'm forgetting that I need to do that part of my job, too.
Right, you have to set the tripod up before you walk in.
I
and
know.
re-walk in, and then...
Okay, if you're watching me, I'm sorry. I try, I just forget.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, but
that's why you overshoot when you remember.
And when I remove things at the end, I shoot the before trick, you
See,
know?
there you go.
If I forget to do it in the beginning, I do it at the end.
It just has to be touchy-feely.
Yeah.
You know, warm and fuzzy.
It's also, like, being in front of a camera is kind of awkward for me, so...
Is it?
I'm trying to get used to that. She's like, yeah, you have to pretend like your phone's your friend.
It's hard.
Yeah.
When I started this thing, like, I had avoided being in front of the camera my whole career, and I was like, you just have to sit down and you cannot get up until it's done. And, like, my legs were hurting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore.
But people want to see that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The most engaged things are when it's, like, a personal story or video or whatever. Like, people care about the real story.
Because they care about the people.
Yeah.
I don't think people really care about businesses. Unless, like, you're, like, a business guru and that kind of stuff. But most people want to see someone on a mission.
And also, we're all going through, like, a lot of the same struggles and successes. And, like, when we're sharing that together, it's really cool to collaborate. But,
yeah.
But a lot of us have been, like, shy about it. And I'm starting to realize, like, the more open you are, like, the more people you're reaching.
Well, I'm realizing that so if I film myself, I hate it. But I'm gauging it now, so it's like, okay, I'm interpreting it as like, okay, if I hate it right now after I filmed it, that means in 2 days, I'm not going to feel too bad about it. And then later that week, I'm going to be like, yeah, my hair looked good. I was putting some good points together, you know?
Yeah.
It's just that same thing, and then I realize, oh, maybe I'm just critical of myself.
I'm like, oh, my double chin, and I'm like, oh, stop, it's okay. Like, we are people, we're human, like...
Right.
We are who we are.
It's like, get over it. Like,
yeah.
It's also like, everybody sees you all the time in an edited way.
Yeah.
Just because you don't get to see yourself doesn't mean that, like, it's changing because you're not filming.
Yeah. But it's been interesting, like, being in front of the camera. Because I've always been behind, working for other people, that stuff, and now it's, like, all me.
Well, you are the brand. I mean, that's the other thing.
I know.
They're calling because of you.
Yeah. Which is awesome, but, like, also frightening at times.
Oh, I bet. Hello?
I'm like, hi, this is Angela. And they're like, oh, you answered the direct line for the business? I'm like, yeah, it's all me.
Yeah, it's me. It's my business.
Like, we is me.
Well, soon you're gonna have a huge team.
I hope.
I don't know what your goals are, but
yeah,
maybe you'll have a whole...
We'll start to see as this, like, pans out. You know, I have to do this full time, probably for a year before I, like, make different decisions.
Yeah, you gotta see a few seasons through, and
yeah.
Then... But that'll be an excellent time for me to swing by and see everything from the ground up.
What's next?
Get on site with you and
I would love that.
Shoot some stuff for you. I don't know.
Yes.
We could do like a whole like Jordan Field trip.
1,000%. You want to come back with us?
Kind of.
There you go.
Hop in the truck.
We got plenty of room.
Take one of the buck saws and bring it back there.
Hey, why not?
Pop's been trying to get those on eBay for the past 15 years.
I might take some.
I'm like, Pops, My neighbor has a buck saw hanging up. I saw it the other day in their sunroom.
There you go. It's got some cool pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's also like I go into their house now and I'm like appreciating the paintings he's done and like some of those things that like now I have a different eye. But before you didn't appreciate it until you learned about it.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
And that was a whole phase of his, though, of seeing that he was an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a memory of, like, there was some argument that he had with Irene, his mom, and he was dating Nona at the time. And I guess he stormed out, and he just left. And so what did he went to Nona's, but what did he do? He took all his books and records and nothing else and just went there.
Yeah,
so I'm glad he's been able to, like, establish the artistic side.
Yeah, they're just so similar. They fought, right?
Oh, yeah. And they loved it.
The older we get, the more we know now.
Oh, God, there's so many. Well, he's going to be on the podcast.
He better be.
We're going to have a big chat.
Yes.
These mics are going to make it a lot easier.
You must. We'll all tune in for that.
Oh, yeah. Gordon Bianchi. I think that's a series. I don't think it's one episode.
You should, absolutely.
I want to get him, I want to get Nana, and then I want to get them together. Because I want to hear him talking about his painting and education and all of his realizations. And I want her to read her poetry.
Yeah.
Which was, like, phenomenal for her.
Yeah. There's just, like, so many different aspects to the artistic side of everyone.
The art of life.
Yeah.
Not just the art of doing something again and again.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for, like, being here. And it's so great that you got to come here and see where I live and how I do things. And
I know. I was like, you want to do this? We're going to do it in person.
Yeah.
No other way.
The first scheduled one. I snuck one in, but...
The only way I'll do it is if we go to Buffalo and we get some Andersons.
Did you go?
Yes.
Good.
Yesterday and today. Tomorrow will be Paula's.
Oh, so you snuck over there after dinner?
No, we went before.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, it's one of those things. I can't get enough of it.
I went there a lot when I started working down the street.
Yeah.
I didn't go there for a long time.
If I lived here, it would be different, but... When I've
No,
come here, it's been the winter on Sundays and they're closed. So I really haven't had it in like 4 years.
We once convinced Aiden that they closed down. And I got Pops on board. And it was great. He lied for me.
And you broke his heart.
Uh-huh. And then we brought him out. I think we brought him out an ice cream cake and a milkshake.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Well, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here and I'm so excited for everything that you're doing.
I'll keep you posted.
How can people follow Bianchi Designs, and how can they get in contact with you if they want to work with you?
Best way, my website, bianchi-designs.com, or on Instagram, bianchi.designs.com.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, wait, tell us again where you're based out of, just so people can know.
I am in the DC metro area.
Okay.
So my warehouse is in Falls Church, Virginia. That's just a few miles from DC. So normally working in Virginia and DC and a little bit of Maryland.
Excellent. You have a big enough radius so people can, whoever's tuning in, can hopefully reach out and work with you.
I would love it.
Well, thank you so much.
Anytime.
One Bianchi to another.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
See you in the next episode, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of Aurora Airwaves. I'm so grateful to have you here as the auroras take us on a journey through the night sky. Stay tuned. Who knows where they'll go next and what healing they'll bring us. Please stay in touch. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a review, give us some likes, and let us know what you think of these episodes. We'll be in touch soon. Thanks again for listening.